The Colosseum. Its sands were soaked in the blood of men. Warriors and slaves fighting for glory, for freedom, or just for a swift death. For centuries, this has been Rome's most brutal spectacle, an exclusively male world. This is the Rome we think we know. But what if I told you there's another story? One that's been whispered, denied, and deliberately forgotten. In the shadows of this world, a different kind of warrior fought. A warrior who has been all but erased from history. She had a name once, a life before the arena. Maybe she was captured in war, torn from her family, and sold into slavery. Maybe she was a poor Roman woman, so deep in debt she sold her own body to the games. Or maybe, just maybe, she was a wealthy Roman lady who craved the thrill of rebellion, a way to spit in the face of a society that was slowly suffocating her. It doesn't matter who she was. The moment she entered the gladiator school, her past was erased. Her life was no longer her own. It now belonged to her owner, and to the crowds who would soon be screaming for her blood. The erased past. Who were these women? To understand the women who fought, you have to understand the world that created them. Roman society was rigid. A woman's place was in the home. Her purpose was to be a wife and mother. Her virtue was her modesty. So who were these women who broke every single rule? Most, it's believed, were from the lowest rungs of society. Enslaved women, captured in war or born into bondage, had no say. If their owner saw a spark of defiance and thought they'd make a profitable novelty, their fate was sealed. For them, the arena was just another form of servitude, only deadlier. But what truly shocked Roman society, and what's still shocking to us, is the evidence that some free-born women, even from the upper classes, chose to enter this world. The satirist Juvenal wrote with pure scorn about rich women who had lost all sense of the dignities and duties of their sex, shaming their families by training with weapons. Why would they do it? For some, it might have been a desperate grab for money in a world where they had none. For others, it was the ultimate rebellion. In a life controlled by men, the arena offered a taste of forbidden power, a chance to seize their own destiny, no matter how brief or bloody. It was a way to infuriate their parents and escape a life they never chose. They became an exotic and thrilling spectacle, a novelty that Roman audiences, always hungry for the outrageous, couldn't resist. But no matter where they came from, slave, debtor, or rebel noble, once they entered the gladiator school, their old life was over. They were property, a commodity to be trained, sold, and if it made a better show, killed for profit. The brutal reality of the ludus, the gladiator training school, the ludus, was a grim fraternity of the desperate. While we have no proof of schools just for women, we know they trained, likely alongside the men. The day began before dawn with the clang of steel. The training was relentless, designed to break the body and rebuild it into something a crowd would pay to see. They'd spend hours practicing with wooden swords twice as heavy as the real thing, and shields far heavier than those they'd use in combat. Every muscle would scream. Bruises were a constant, painful reminder of a single mistake. Their diet was a far cry from the fine meals of the Roman elite. Gladiators ate a mostly vegetarian diet, heavy on carbohydrates like barley and beans. There's a theory that this was intentional, designed to build up a layer of fat. This fat wasn't for health. It was a buffer, protecting nerves and blood vessels from shallow cuts. It would prolong the fight, making it bloodier and more dramatic for the crowd. It's a horrifying thought. They were being fattened for the slaughter. The psychological torment was just as bad. Fear was a constant companion. They lived side by side with slaves, criminals, and volunteers, all knowing the person they trained with today could be the one they had to kill tomorrow. Friendship was a dangerous luxury. Yet, in this brutal world, a strange community could form. A shared understanding of their grim reality forged bonds. They were outcasts, but in the ludus, they were among their own. For some, It might have been the only real community they'd ever known. A spectacle and a scandal. When a woman stepped onto the sand, she was more than a fighter. She was a paradox, a figure that both fascinated and horrified Roman society. To the roaring masses, she was the ultimate novelty. Emperors like Nero and Domitian famously put female fighters in their games, sometimes pitting them against each other by torchlight or even against dwarves, to create a bizarre, unforgettable show. But behind the cheers, the Roman elite was terrified. A woman holding a sword was a direct assault on their entire world. Roman identity was built on the idea of female modesty and male strength. A woman fighting for sport was a shocking subversion of that order. She wasn't just fighting another person. She was fighting the very idea of what it meant to be a Roman woman. This anxiety is written directly into Roman law. Decrees were passed to forbid freeborn women from participating in the games. This tells us two things. Women were definitely fighting, and the authorities were desperately trying to stop it. The concern wasn't for their safety, but for social decorum. To perform for a crowd was considered shameful. To fight in the arena was to become infamous, illegal, and social stain. An infamous person lost many rights of a Roman citizen and was put on the same legal footing as prostitutes and actors. In the eyes of high society, she was a disgrace. The backlash peaked in 200 AD when Septimius Severus banned all female gladiators. The historian Cassius Dio claimed the ban happened because the women competed so fiercely, their behavior was seen as a corrupting influence on all Roman women. The emperor's message was clear. This threat to the moral fabric of the empire had to be stopped. The illusions of the arena. Despite the danger and the scorn, the arena held a dark allure. For a woman born into slavery, it offered a slim chance at a real life. Most gladiatorial fights, contrary to movies, didn't end in death. Gladiators were expensive investments. A fighter who performed well could survive and earn prize money. With enough victories, she might even earn her freedom. It was a desperate gamble, but for someone with nothing, it was hope. Fame was another intoxicating illusion. In a world where most women were invisible, a successful female fighter could become a star. Her stage name might be chanted by thousands. Her image could be scratched as graffiti on a wall. We know the names of two such women from a stone relief found in Halicarnassus, modern-day Turkey. They are called Amazon and Achilles stage names, meant to evoke epic myths. The relief shows them in full combat gear, facing off with swords and shields. An inscription above them reveals the outcome. They fought to an honorable draw and were both spared. This one artifact gives us a powerful glimpse into their world. Amazon and Achilles must have been popular enough to have a relief carved to commemorate their duel. Their fight was high drama. It shows that these women weren't just anonymous fighters. They were characters in a grand, bloody theater. They achieved a kind of glory, but it came at the cost of their dignity and their place in society. It was a devil's bargain, trading humanity for celebrity on the bloody sands. The fight for survival. Imagine it. The roar of 50,000 people washes over you. A wave of sound that's both thrilling and terrifying. The sun beats down on the hot sand. The air is thick with the smell of sweat, fear, and old blood. You're pushed from the darkness, under the stands, into the blinding light. Your armor is heavy but familiar. A guard on your sword arm, a greave on one shin, a simple loincloth. Unlike the men, you might fight bareheaded. Your femininity, a key part of the spectacle. Your heart hammers against your ribs. Today, your opponent isn't a wild beast. You look across the sand and see a familiar face, a woman from your own ludus. A woman you've trained with, eaten with. A friend. This was the cruelest trick of the games. Your owner had no sentiment. He pit his best fighters against each other for the most dramatic matchups. The crowd howls. There's no choice. Hesitation means death. Your swords meet with a sharp clang. It's a deadly dance you've practiced 100 times with blunted wood. But this is real. You see an opening. Your training takes over. Steel flashes. A cry of pain. Blood spills onto the sand. The crowd erupts. The dust settles. Only one of you is left standing, haunted, victorious, and utterly alone. The curse of victory is a bitter poison. You're showered with coins and flowers. The crowd chants your stage name. You're a hero for a day. But what have you really won? Back in the ludus, the cheers are a distant echo. The victory doesn't buy your freedom. It doesn't restore your honor. It only ensures you'll have to do it all again. Your fame is a cage. You're a celebrity who is despised. The same Romans who cheered your name would never see you as an equal. You are a monster, a marvel, a warning, anything but a woman. The poet Juvenal mocked the husbands of such women, painting a picture of their shame. Every victory reinforces your status as an outcast, making you more valuable to your owner, but less human to the world. You're trapped in a cycle of violence. Did you ever dream of escape? Taking your prize money and disappearing? Perhaps. But where could you go? Your past was gone, and your present was the brand of infamia. There was no running from the ghost of the arena. Triumph is your curse. You are famous, but never free. Alive, but at what cost? In the dark, lonely moments after the fight, with the ghost of your friend haunting you, you must understand the terrible truth. In the world of the games, survival is just a postponement of death, and victory is the cruelest sentence of all. The lost legacy. For all the blood they spilled, the historical footprint of these women is faint, almost erased. Their stories aren't carved into triumphal arches. They are pieced together from tantalizing fragments and biased accounts. The male Roman historians who wrote about them did so with contempt, describing them as exotic novelties or signs of moral decay. They never called them gladiatrices. That's a modern term. They just called them Malaire's women, a word that often implied low social status. Archaeology offers our most direct connection. The relief of Amazon and Aquileia is the clearest artistic depiction we have. Other finds are debated. A small bronze statue in a German museum is now believed by some to be a female gladiator raising her sword in victory. Perhaps the most haunting clue comes not from Rome, but from London. In 1996, archaeologists found a Roman-era grave in Southwark. Inside were the remains of a woman, buried with expensive goods, including a lamp depicting a fallen gladiator. Some called her the Great Dover Street Woman and speculated she was a famous gladiator. But many scholars are skeptical, arguing she could have just been a wealthy fan or a gladiator's wife. This uncertainty is their legacy. We have no diaries, no letters, no accounts from the women themselves. Their voices are lost. We only see them through the distorted lens of a society that didn't know what to make of them. They were real. They lived, they fought, and they died. But history, written by the powerful, has left them as ghosts. The story of the female gladiator is a story of brutal contradictions. She was a slave and a celebrity, an object of desire and a symbol of disgrace. A woman who broke every rule, only to become a pawn in her society's most violent game. These women were more than a bizarre footnote in history. They challenged the very definition of what it meant to be a woman in Rome, and in doing so, they exposed the anxieties of a powerful empire. Their existence was so threatening that an emperor had to ban them, fearing their defiance would unravel everything. Their names are lost, their stories are buried, but their legacy endures in the questions they leave behind. Who gets to be remembered by history, and whose stories are erased? The roar of the Colosseum is long gone, but the echo of their defiance, that can still be heard. If you found this look into the hidden world of female gladiators as fascinating as we did, make sure you like this video and subscribe for more lost stories from the ancient world. But we want to know what you think. Do you see these women as victims, rebels, or something else entirely? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your take. Thanks for watching.